Classes in session.
Hey everybody, welcome to Unlearn 16 Classes in Session. Today, I have Marie Connor, one of the funniest people I have seen on Twitter. This tall, awkward girl, at this tall, awkward girl. Did I get that right?
It's this tall AWK girl, just because of...
Oh my God, what are you doing to me, Marie? Come on. I'm going to put that all in the comment section so you guys can get it perfect. But hysterical on Twitter. Now you're hysterical in real life because you're a professional comedian. This is what you do.
I try. Yeah.
You try. So how long has this been your thing?
So I've been writing comedy probably like since 2013, but I've been doing stand-up for about 5 years now.
So what'd you do before 2013?
I was a student.
Sorry,
you
paused on the S there. I thought you were going to say something else, and I thought this was going to get very interesting very quickly. That's not.
I wish. No, I know exactly what you were thinking. And ready, I was a law student. I bet you were expecting that. And so that's how I learned how to write for Twitter. Basically, those short, concise. Little
short and concise. So you were a law student.
Yep.
You don't want to be a lawyer. You chuck it all and you like, screw it. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to write comedy because those are so interwoven.
Yes. I gave my parents heart attacks.
I can imagine. What a disappointment you must have been.
I know, right? No, I mean, I passed the bar. I can go fight, which helps with comedy because I've been sued for defamation before, which
really? We got to talk about that.
I've had one case is pending, with a Trump supporter. It has no legs, and then another one was like a crazy person filing.
So it's when you talk about somebody in your act, that's what they're suing you for. So you make a joke
like on Twitter. Somebody. It's not even the act.
Twitter.
Yeah.
You're really funny on Twitter. That's the problem. And it gains a lot of notoriety and people get really butthurt, So,
yeah. But I'm I don't have to pay a lawyer to file something. I can do it for myself. And
amazing. So you pass the bar and then you sit your parents down and say, listen, that was fun. Thanks for the, however much law school costs. And I'm going to start writing comedy. But you don't do stand-up. You're going to write comedy for who?
So you can sell jokes to stand-up comedians. And I also started on a Tumblr kind of doing jokes and just building up. And then it's actually weird. Right after Trump, it all began election night, 2016. Let me take you back. I was at a house party, all lesbians. Some of them went to Wellesley College. Hillary Clinton.
Those are serious lesbians.
Oh yeah, I'm the crazy conservative right winger to those lesbians.
What?
Yeah, I know, right? And so, they had a cardboard cutout of Hillary. Donald Trump toilet paper, and I was just kind of like, I'm there for cake, to be honest. And it was really sad because, after once Wisconsin was called, I was kind of like, okay, when are we gonna cut the cake? Because people are crying. I don't know, looking for drugs. It was just I don't know what's going on.
Messed up. I would have bet my house against that election.
Oh, yeah. Everyone. Well, that was the problem. Everyone's like, Trump's so great. I'm like, nobody showed up to vote.
Yeah.
Because everybody assumed Hillary would win. I think some more women may have showed up, but I really think it came down to is everybody just expected Hillary. It was kind of like, what's the point? Why go out of my day?
Crazy, eh?
Hey.
That's
sorry, Canada.
Listen, I say all the time, excuse my swearing in a second because I never swear, but I say people say all the time, why do you care so much about American politics? I'm like, because every time you shit the bed, we get it all over us because we're lying right beside you. So any time you guys do something horrific or pass a law or elect an idiot, it gets all over us. And then we get to have these little minions of replicas running around Canada, like Pierre Poilievre or heaven forbid, Jordan Peterson, running around with delusions of grandeur because you guys have elected an idiot. So mostly I blame you.
You're welcome. I mean, I pictured right now Jordan Peterson running around Canada with a polar bear up in the Yukon territory.
That's what he does.
Yeah, I
it is
support it.
what he does. It's why he's sad a lot.
Make him protect the maple syrup. I don't know.
Oh, guys.
You know, Canada, you guys need to step up. You know, build up that military. You guys have been had it too easy. We've been putting money into our military for years.
Listen, our two guys in the boat do a great job. Thank you very much. I don't think we need any more. You want to know why? Because we don't piss anybody off.
Hey.
Who?
The Queen, if you take her off your money.
I'm okay. We're not going to, wait a minute. We're not going to piss off the Queen. We're going to wait respectfully for her to move on, onwards and upwards. And then we're going to disrespectfully piss off Prince Charles because nobody likes him.
Oh.
With a smile on my face. Sorry.
I'm of Irish descent, so fuck the royal family. But no, I mean, I support putting a wall up above Canada, only because that's how I think my family illegally entered, like 100 and whatever years ago. They went through Canada.
Want to stop? You want to stop people saying please and thank you? What are you trying to stop at the border here?
Hell yeah. I'm sick of this nice shit.
Jesus.
What is this? Christ. You guys are just like the nice cousin of Wisconsin.
A nice educated cousin of Wisconsin. All right, so it's 2016.
I remember you have McGill University up there, right?
Yes, that's right.
That's where kids would go when they didn't get into Harvard. Down in the US.
Oh my God, Harvard! But haven't you heard about that lovely little test where kids go to the state school, like the really crappy state school, and they write an essay and get a B, and then they hand it into Harvard and they get an A?
No.
You haven't heard that?
How did I not?
Oh, I'm going to send you that footage. Students wanted to test out Harvard. So there were kids that were going to a local state school, writing papers, seeing what kind of grades they got. And then they'd hand the same paper into a Harvard professor, and a Harvard professor would give them an A.
I blew it.
I don't know. I'm just saying maybe they want to perpetuate the illusion they have the best and the brightest, so they give them great marks and they get great jobs because they have that Harvard piece of paper, but nobody ever knows the difference because there's law firms that only hire Harvard grads. How would they ever know? They're never going to know. Could have been better from, I don't know, Pennsylvania State or something.
Penn State?
Is that
UPenn? Trump went to UPenn.
Trump bought his way into UPenn. Listen, most of your presidents bought their degrees, let's be honest.
And he went to undergrad, which is funny because UPenn is known for its business school, like to get a master's in business.
Right.
But he always talks about going to Wharton.
Yeah.
But he went undergrad. So it's kind of like pretending you went to Harvard Law School, but Harvard undergrad's still hard, but
yeah. Well,
he's an idiot.
Rory Gilmore.
He's an idiot, but he helped my career.
He helped. Okay, so it's 2016. You're sitting in a room with a bunch of angry Hillary-loving lesbians.
Oh, yeah. Once Wisconsin went, I was like, I'm going to have to cut this cake myself. People are like, I have to leave. We're going to be sent into camps. I'm like, whoa. We still have the Constitution. Calm down. And there was like one other lawyer there. And it was kind of like, let's talk them off the ledge. And so I kind of was like, to handle stress or hard time, I write jokes. I deal with it with laughter. I'm not a crier. I'm not a hugger.
Right.
It makes everyone uncomfortable when I try to be empathetic. Like
I'll remember that.
I'm horrible at funerals. I'm just like, I'll stay in the corner out of respect.
Just don't talk to me. Don't.
Exactly. That's why I can't debate Jordan Peterson because he's dead.
It's fair.
He looks like he's dead. I would get confused and awkward.
I think he might be.
But yeah, dead people. so I started my Twitter just kind of to start throwing out jokes, and it just kind of picked up. I mean, and I've been going ever since. And it's crazy, just the things I've been able to do from just opening up that Twitter account and kind of throwing out my stuff. It's like I actually did the Trump roast, or Kathy Griffin, remember, with the head? Yeah. So she got so much crap.
Brilliant.
And I mean, it was like death threats, horrible people. And she reached out to me and had me also, she's like the coolest human being ever, but do this Trump roast in DC. And I go down, and it was right in front of the White House.
Wow.
And I was like, I mean, as somebody who's studied the law, and I mean, this was one of the coolest moments of my life. I'm sitting here making fun of the president of the United States.
Amazing.
There's MAGA people. There's, Democrats. There's the Secret Service with all those big like the big guns, not the AR-15, like the ones you can't buy. And so
you have to go to the nice Walmart for that.
Like a BB gun for you guys. You can't buy. We got the big guns here. And, they're all snipers, and people are getting picked out of the crowd because people are yelling. And I just love that. I liked being booed, like during sports games. I liked playing away. It just like fires me up.
There's some deep underpinnings there. We'll circle back, maybe sit down, delve into that psyche a little bit. There might be some issues.
Or your therapist at. But so I mean, that was probably one of the coolest moments, because it's as much as America sucks, though, and I'll get to the whatever. But like, as much as America sucks when you have Trump as president, I think he's a scumbag. I don't think he knows anything about how this nation was founded, what it stands for, the history, anything. And but for me to be able to be there in front of the White House and to make fun of the president, there are a lot of countries you can't do that, and that's what you have to appreciate. And that goes into free speech. And I got to make fun of Sarah Sanders too, and I know she was listening.
Okay, wait, here's my question, because like you kind of skipped over, you're like, I wrote a few jokes on Twitter, and then all of a sudden I'm best friends with Kathy Griffin. Listen, how did that bridge? Like, how did you go from writing some crap on Twitter, and you have like 90,000, 80,000, however many followers on Twitter, but you have all those followers on Twitter, and then all of a sudden Kathy's like, come on down, let's roast them.
I'm just that good of a writer.
Okay, then.
I'm kidding.
That's the end of the story, folks.
I'll tell you, actually, she was getting, crucified by everyone. And I mean, MAGA people, death threats, all of that. And also you have the U.S. government investigating whether she's trying to assassinate the president. I mean, that's insane. And that is just bullying. It's everything that's anti-American. And so she made a tweet or something, and people were just shitting on it. And I wrote, listen, mocking people in power is probably the most American thing a person can do.
Yeah.
And, she reached out to me after and was like, thank you so much. Because this is when the left was also
everybody
throwing her under the bus and being like, that was so stupid, which is like, shut up. And then we just opened the conversation, and I actually went to her show when she came to Boston. And funny enough, Stormy Daniels was sitting behind me.
Stop it.
Which is funny, because then I ended up featuring for her when she did her comedy tour.
What kind of a world?
And that was, I didn't even meet her. I was just like, who's the person wearing this like red cocktail dress at a comedy show in Boston, Massachusetts?
And like, paying with one.
We Vegas. It stands out. Okay. Everybody wears dark clothes. We're still Puritans here in Massachusetts.
Very, very serious in Boston.
Who's wearing red on a Friday night? But she's a witch. And so then she randomly reached out to me on Twitter and was just like, hey, I'm putting this thing together. It's like the Kremlin Annex, which they've been doing. They were basically doing a protest every night outside the White House while Trump was in office. And she was like, would you like to come? And I was like, fuck yeah. I mean,
I'm on my way, Kathy.
Yeah. and basically, and I booked my flight and went down. And what was crazy is she booked 3 other female comics, and they were DC. I was the only one who was brought in.
Yeah.
And it was very last minute for me. So I didn't even get it on the like press release or anything.
Right.
Those 3 comics saw basically all the people fighting. I mean, it was MAGA people, stupid hats.
Yeah.
They're wearing these
Yeah.
oversized suits. Like, and I'm like, you stole that for your older brother. Like, the jacket's navy, but the pants are black. I'm like,
I'm so mad I wasn't there. I'm so angry. Yeah.
But it was so like valid. I was like, oh, you trolls, this is what you look like. Exactly what I thought you looked like. And I'm like, and you're making fun of me? You know, right. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Now I'm seen behind the curtain. You're losers. But I mean, some of them are cool. But it was just, I love that kind of stuff. I love the booing. I'm like, you know, you're gonna have to take me off this stage if you want me to go. But hopefully the Secret Service has my back as an American. Take out the Canadians. No, but
we are trying nicely to protect you.
So those 3 comics bailed while Kathy was up there about to intro us. She went out, did her bit, and we had planned it, and then each of us were going to go. And so then it was just like, and it was live streamed to thousands of people.
Oh my God, I watched this. I just get up there. This, right?
I didn't do that right.
It doesn't matter.
It was out.
That was it. That was your Eminem moment. You should have been singing with a hoodie on in the back, throwing up spaghetti. Like, that was it.
If you remember, Eminem did not do well on his first try, and then he killed it at the end. Yeah,
but it didn't matter. You still went out there and you got it done, and you made a connection with somebody. It's relatively important in the industry. That's bad, and you did it under all of that duress and all of that, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, she had a lot worse. She was getting, like, the Daily Mail was chasing her. I mean, it was really, I have so much respect for her because also as a comic, you know, crazy things can happen. You have to deal with drunk people all the time. You have to deal with whatever. And for her, she's going to introduce comics who aren't there. So she says their name and everyone's like, who? And then I'm like, my time to shine. I march up. I'm like, it's the Marie show. I'm like, hell yeah. And so I went, and I mean, I didn't have that much material or anything. And
you didn't think you had to fill like 3 comics.
Exactly. And so Kathy just ended up, she just went right into her set. And this was after I had gone to her show. So she just handled it like with such class and as a pro.
Right.
Nobody in the audience would know anything went wrong.
Right.
And that, it just taught me like such a, like, don't bitch, don't complain, don't be like, sorry, this would have been better. Just go out there and do your job.
Knock them down. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's really one of the nicest people. Also, I've dealt with celebrities before. Most are assholes.
Which one?
She could not. I don't know. She could not be a nicer person and somebody who wants to lift up people. You know, she called, checked in when I got to DC, and then thanked me after. God. She like thanked me while she was then going to lunch with Hillary Clinton. I'm like, why are you even acknowledging my existence?
That's, you know what? Because, well, A, she's a good person and there's a rarity, but B, it's because I think that you have authentic people that see authentic people, and then that's it. It doesn't matter where you are in your life. It doesn't matter money or fame or whatever. If you're an authentic person, I truly believe this. You draw in, or you try to draw in those people. When you see them, you better hold on with both hands, because it happens everywhere, right? Like, a lot of people love to chirp about celebrities and how they're such, you know, they're this and they're that. I'm like, you know what? Lots of people are garbage. I have been in lots of jobs, met lots of people. You know what? There's asses everywhere. You don't need to be rich to be one. But authenticity, and I think Kathy Griffiths, whether you love or hate her comedy, doesn't matter. You have to appreciate her authenticity. Nothing about her is fake. Nothing. You know?
Yeah, and then she'll tell it like it is. And she's funny. She's genuinely, there are sometimes you meet people and you're like, you're actually really not that funny. But she just off the cuff on the phone, like, is just a naturally
Always.
funny person. And I always am like, oh, that's refreshing.
So, as we're going to stream into this, then,
Mhm.
let's say you're hosting the Academy Awards and you make a joke about my wife, and I come up. How do you handle that? How do you handle your, let's say you had a Will Smith moment. What do you do?
Well, see, that's
What would
different.
you have done in that situation?
If you were at a comedy show, I would destroy you
Like verbally,
verbally.
or you just
Yeah,
throw down?
no,
Okay.
verba.
So you take the hit. You take the hit.
No, you would miss too. I'm too high. I'm like, I'd just be like, like,
And then you just destroy
yeah. I'd be like,
verbally.
you missed like a bitch. I don't know.
Okay. Well, what if they connected? What if they connected and they got like, because let's be honest, Will connected. I thought it was a joke. Everybody in the world thought it was a joke. I thought his hand was up there because it was such a loud noise. But I mean, dude had a bit of a swell. What do you do? What do you do in that situation?
I mean, I will say at the Academy Awards, I think Chris Rock handled it again like a pro in
Yeah.
terms of comedians.
Yeah.
And because comedians are smart and he could have shredded them. You
Hmm.
know, he's made jokes about them before
Right.
in front of a huge audience, and people would have been like, they deserve, Will Smith deserved it,
Right.
but he didn't, because it's the Academy Awards. I mean,
And so just,
and you're getting paid, or I mean, I don't really know
oh
how
yeah, for sure.
presenters work or whatever, but it's a time, place, and manner thing. You know, if you were at the club and you did it, it's game on. Which, I mean, nobody should do that at a club either.
Right.
Like, there's no you should never use violence to words. I think afterwards, Jade, because alopecia and things like that, you could rip Chris Rock apart, or
Yep.
say, it was mean of him to say that, although I don't think he knew about. And also, I'm like, G.I. Jane was hot.
I took it as a compliment
Yeah.
because I didn't even know why I didn't know at that moment why. So I took it as a compliment. And then I think it just went sideways. And Will laughed at the beginning and then looked over and knew he was in trouble. But like all of that aside, because
We've
it
all gotten
boils
that look.
down, oh, that look, eh?
Yeah, like,
I'm like,
what are you going to do about it?
oh no. All of that aside, it really boils down to, nobody says what he did was okay, but it boils down to, do you think there's a line, any line, as a comedian? Should there ever
No,
be a line? No.
no. And I understand why people think there should be a line, but I do believe enough. I did a one-liner contest, I remember, years ago. And, Boston is a heavy writer town in terms of comedy. Like, LA is more like performance.
Right.
New York's also, I mean, it's hard to make it in New York, but Boston's is very much a writer's town. You're not going to get laughs by just being zany.
Right.
You
Right.
have
Right.
to have
It
something
has to be
behind
a
your
build.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, people are going to be like, you want to make me laugh? Good luck. Let's go.
Hmm.
You got to earn the laughs. And I remember, like, one of the guy, he like drove up, he's from New Jersey, and he was all like, oh, I have all this stuff. He gets up, does his first joke. It was a oven joke about, oh God, it was so bad. It, they should just play that, because the most uncomfortable of everyone just going silent and being like, I hate you, basically. And he made, though, it was like girlfriend or whatever, and it was basically a Holocaust joke, but not. And it was just like, get the fuck off the stage.
Right.
Like, it was just so bad, especially he's Italian. It's like, there's no, like, only worse if you were German. Like,
Yeah.
and so that's, with the line, I don't think comedians there should be a line, but I do think the crowd usually will give it exactly what you deserve. So if
Right.
you do say things out, it can be funny. Like there are things that can be funny. I don't know about
Yeah.
the Holocaust. I'm not even going to touch on that.
Well, because we can go. I mean, because this has been happening for a while, right? You've been watching, and but this has always been the case. Listen. I've been watching some Marvelous Miss Maisel, so I feel pretty, a part of that scene and very
Mm-hmm.
educated in the. I wish I had a tight 10. I want to use that somewhere inappropriately, but what the interesting part there is everybody thinks this is new, like this kind of censorship is new, this is all so new, and you watch what went on then in a very real way. I realize it's a fictional show, but it's still based on real, like Lenny Bruce was a real guy who ended up going to jail a boatload of times for what he said, because his language was crass, because they talked about sex, because whatever. And you watch that show, and it's always been the case where comedians' job seemingly has always been to push as hard as conceivably possible at every boundary and then wait to see, did you think it was funny? But whoever you are, right? And
Mm-hmm.
somehow that's indicative of something, but it's not new. Like the censorship is not new of comedians. Like it's broadened, you know, because I think about the stuff that wasn't allowed and what we're allowed to say, and then we roll into, when you said the Holocaust stuff. I know that Roseanne was a big fan of making those jokes because she was Jewish, and so she was like, listen, I can do it because I'm Jewish. What do you think about that?
I mean, again, I think you can go for it. I really don't see how, because it's how would a 5'11" blonde girl make
Throw that.
that joke and people be like, "Ooh, she has a good makes a good point." You know what? Like it's different if it's coming from somebody. Uh, you know what I mean? Like it's just. I mean, maybe I'm not that good of a comic, but I don't know how I can
Make it funny.
make it funny because
Sure.
people would just be like, "Ooh," you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be cringy, right? I mean, because then we translate over, no pun intended, but we transition over to Dave Chappelle and and his shtick. And a lot of people were asking my opinion about, his jokes and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I don't really watch. I'm gonna go watch. I watched 3 of his specials in a row to sort of get a vibe so I could speak on it. And I'm like, first of all, why is he recycling material in different specials? Is that okay? Netflix says I'm going to pay you for 3 specials, but go ahead, use the same jokes.
That's a dream. I mean, well, no, usually, I mean, Chappelle's in another league in terms of the pay. I mean, Netflix still is not that much for a normal
Oh,
comic.
really?
No,
So
not
he's
at
not
all.
writing new stuff. He's like,
And
screw
the
you.
other thing, well, no, usually what it is, I mean, here's the big behind comedy. You start with your tight 5, then you get to your tight 10, and then you get like your 15 to 20 to feature, and then 30 to an hour, whatever.
Right.
Um, and a lot of time, I mean, people, you do the same material, you add stuff in, you change it, you work on it. There
Yeah.
are comedians who've been doing the same stuff for, 8 to 10 years. And that's what gets it perfect. I know it sounds
Yeah.
weird, but that's why they're so good. Nobody's getting, you can riff and there's, obvious reactions to, crowd and stuff, but
Yeah.
most of that material has been written for a really long time. And
Interesting.
so when you do a special, you have to retire all of that material and write new material.
Right.
So that's kind of with the pay. Let's say you get $10,000. That's
Right.
like, if that's your material and it's
It's a
not a
brand new
lot
shtick.
to retire stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I haven't watched the Chappelle, to be honest. I don't watch as much stand-up comedy. Um, there are certain comics I like, and I like seeing people live.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I don't like watching it on TV.
It is weird. It's kind of like watching Broadway. you lose something without the energy of the room, maybe.
Oh,
Um,
totally. Oh,
one,
oh. But let me
I
tell
would
you
say,
about Zoom comedy, okay?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Like COVID, I did two, I think, Zoom shows because I was like, this is awful. It's kind of like doing a podcast because I'm like, where do I look? But it's
Yeah,
delayed reaction and it's all comics because nobody wants to. It's just, it's not real comedy. And a
right,
lot of
right.
it is playing off the crowd and how you react. And it's just uncomfortable. I don't know.
I think, yeah, I think that there's a whole bunch of factors that go into that, but I think, I think everybody understands that energy and everybody understands what it is to sort of to feed off of that. And I think you give more space to it too. I think people are can be even funnier just because you're in that room. They can be, everything just hits differently. So if we're talking about comedians and you don't watch, I think it's funny you don't watch a lot of comedians. Who's your favorite? Besides Kathy Griffith,
I was gonna say
obviously.
Kathy for life. In terms of people, one of my favorite, I like full belly laughter. And if she's ever in your city, go see is Jessica Curson.
Oh, I don't know. I'm
Um,
gonna look her up.
yeah, she is so funny live. It's just, and a lot of it is just off the cuff and
Right.
crowd interactions, and she's so funny and so nice. I like nice people.
You see, you are Canadian in your soul.
Hey, fuck you.
Hey.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's a little that was a little Fonzie, not so Canada.
That's yeah. No, that's just the Boston in me. I I can hold a grudge, and I once sat in Montreal traffic for 3 hours trying to get to Mount
Oh,
Tremblant,
you
and I
in
did.
Montreal. We just gotta work on how you said it.
Your
Listen,
hockey team
that's
suck.
that's Quebec, first of all.
Quebec.
Quebec. That's how you
Cape.
say it, Quebec.
It's like
Um,
pick a language, Quebec.
you say it with a heart. Listen, we've been trying to fix that problem for a very long time. It's a situation. You guys have your issues. Texas, I think, has wanted to leave for a very long time. They keep trying. But I think you have to like immerse yourself. You got stuck in traffic, but did you have smoked meat? Did you go to the bagel store in the famous areas? No? You sat in traffic?
Do most people get out of the cars in traffic and go to the bagel place?
Yeah. Well, if you're stuck in traffic, why don't you get out and get a
Mm,
bagel? Maybe you would have been a little bit happier. You could have sat, you could have eaten your bagel, everything would have been nicer. Maybe some
that's
smoked meat.
true.
I don't know. Some poutine. Um,
Where did I go? In eighth grade, there was like a class field trip to Quebec. We stayed
hey,
at D Chateau. Um,
you would have stayed at
and
what, like Chateau Frontenac? Where did you guys stay?
I don't know, it was a building. And I
I'm
just remember
sorry.
like they were like, don't buy cigarettes because we could apparently buy cigarettes at like 12 or whatever
No,
we were.
you couldn't.
14.
In grade 8, you came. That's so funny. What an
14.
interesting thing.
It started out as the French class field trip.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Makes
yeah.
sense. And then the Spanish kids were like, I'm gonna Spanish class, not whatever. Spanish class kids were like, oh, I'm gonna take French instead because I want to go on this field trip. The Spanish class wasn't going anywhere fun. We were having a fiesta. So then
They,
they were finally like, we'll make it the eighth grade class trip and everyone will go. But then the Spanish class kids were like, what homework are we gonna do? Because the French kids all had to do, translations and shit. I don't know. And we were just like, okay, we'll go to the Sugar Shack and eat
oh
little
my
hot dog
God.
wiener. And everyone in my class at 14 like had an eating disorder, and they took us to one of those like I think it was called the Sugar Shack. And I just
What?
remember all of us like eating the Special K diet, and they drop a big bowl of little cocktail wieners with maple syrup in the bowl, and it was just kind of like
What school did you go to where everybody had an eating disorder and for fun you come to Canada?
I was homeschooled
Apparently, yeah. Yeah. It was 3 kids, wasn't it?
by a stranger from the street.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Okay,
he's
so
Canadian.
you've been on Twitter forever. We tapped into free speech just a little bit, and I'm going to take out the word free speech because y'all have messed it up so much that nobody even understands what the hell. Yeah, you all,
You guys
you
have free
people,
speech?
Yeah, you did, because everybody's like chirping and yelling that they don't have free speech on Twitter. Meanwhile, you're a lawyer. That's not how it applies, you dumb nits. Like, it's not about free speech from your government. So I want to, I wish we could come up with another term so we'd stop messing them. I also can't hear the word freedom anymore without thinking of the wrong side of the fence. It used to mean something good.
Well, that's because you still have the queen on your currency and you speak French
You
as
know what?
well.
You
Like,
you have
it doesn't even make sense because the French, the English, totally different sides in Europe for a long time. And then Canada is like, we can't kick either of them out. So we'll just accept it, eh?
well, the French and the British mended fences so they could both commit a genocide against the indigenous population. See, they found a commonality there.
And that explains the revolution and why the French joined up with us and a lot of other wars that
I'm
people
sorry.
never
When did the
learn.
French join up with you guys? What part did you learn in your history books?
The Revolutionary War, they kind of helped us out. We got to take out that British Navy somehow.
What are you? Oh, the French in France, French, not the French Canadians.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about France. You're right, but you guys don't talk about that. That's the only way you won that war. By
And
the
then we
by.
never paid our debt. It really is funny, too, like, because it was before the French and Indian War. And the British
Yeah.
basically sent all the troops to fight it for. And then we were like, yeah, we don't want to pay that. We're not paying that tax on tea. I mean, that's what our country is. We're a bunch of nutcases. Nobody came over here because things are going great in England
It's
for
true.
them or wherever.
Yeah, I mean, there was that whole Puritan thing. I think what also is interesting, so we're talking about free. Have you ever had anything taken down off Twitter? Well, obviously
Yeah,
you've been
I
sued,
started
so.
a hashtag against Tommy Lauren, and I called her tampon lampshade or something. Yeah, tampon lampshade.
And
Because
that's
everyone
it?
makes
That was
fun of
the
her.
line?
Yeah, it was taken out. I mean, oh no, I've had others, but I've deserved it. I feel like I've called people mean things.
Mean things. Okay,
Which
so here's my
which was like
question.
not even trying hard. It was if I'm swearing or just calling you a C word, I'm lazy that day. I'm
Okay.
busy. I got places to be.
Okay, so first of all, nobody has free speech on Twitter because free speech is an amendment protected in opposition to the government. So I'm going to put that over here.
Okay.
What do you think? Because you have Elon Musk, your patron saint of all saviors, coming to save you guys and all of your speech rights on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and he's gonna free everybody, so nobody ever has to face. Do you think there should be a line on Twitter?
Oh, so my thing is, I feel like no, but then I
Mhm.
also feel like I understand from a business perspective why there needs to be because people are going to leave Twitter if you're constantly being harassed and bullied
Mhm.
or constantly seeing like I think Twitter sucks right now.
Mhm.
I hate to say it. It's just people are I don't know. It's gotten really it's just not fun.
I find it the meanest place on earth. Like, I started on TikTok, and I've had a Twitter account forever, but to be honest, for about 5 years, I didn't know how to use it, so it just kind of sat there. And then eventually, I just started bringing stuff over. But I find it like cutthroat. Like, it is cutthroat. Like, you put something up, and people go for the jugular, and I'm curious as to what's actually getting taken off because I'm like, well, if this isn't getting taken off, what is
Well,
getting taken off?
I mean, I think it's so stupid because what I think a lot of it is that people you get clout. It's like, oh, I was censored and blah blah blah, and
Right.
then whoever whatever party you're for is going to back you up, and you can cry and make money off of it. The amount
Mhm.
of people I've seen sell out. I had right wing people who in the beginning in like 2016 2017 were like, oh, do you want to come and be on
Yeah.
Patriot Radio or whatever? And I was like, no, I want to continue dating my girlfriend who would murder me if I to make money started being like, gays, do they need to be married? Really? It's just a word. Why do they need it too? Like,
Listen,
I could do that. I can
well,
argue both sides. I could
yeah,
argue why gay people shouldn't get married, which
stop it. I'm going to need to hear that argument. But you'd be the Candace Owens of gay women.
Exactly. And then the House of Lesbians Crying would come after me and
Yeah,
howling.
and they're mean and they have tools.
I'm terrified of them.
You don't want to do
I'm
that.
terrified.
You should be, I
Um,
think.
no, but I think a lot of it is bullshit. I think a lot of, because to be a comic, you have to be very self-reflective and you got to be able to take the piss out of yourself as well
Mhm.
as people in power.
Yeah.
And I think right wing, it's just very, I believe like everyone should be able to take shots if you
Mhm.
want to give it out. I'm
Yep.
like, you can take a shot at me, but I get a rebuttal and you better
Mhm.
know that it's going to be fucking crafted and it's going to nail you.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and why I get so upset, because I just feel like with the right wing right now is everyone's just like, let's make fun of trans people.
Yeah.
And
Well,
to me,
they always pick a group because, well, you know why that is though, right?
yeah,
Historically, it's always if you can clearly define a group, it is so much easier to rally hate around, have them look over here and not focus over here so much. I mean, and this
yeah.
right now, that's the group.
And it's just, it's what gay people used to be before in the 80s and up until, more
Absolutely.
recently. And especially when I see gay people, talking, because you can have whatever opinion, but like, just like, what world are you living in where you think like people are like, oh, the trans community is beating up on me? I'm like, no, the internet allows everyone to have a voice, and you're not used to people coming after you because
Right.
you have had power your entire life. Because nobody on the street is coming up to you,
Mhm.
okay? And
Yeah.
I'm one of the same things. But you're got to be kidding me if you think trans people have it easy on the street and aren't getting shit from people. And that's what I love. And I always defend it because I hate it when I see a group of people and they're just like, oh, women's sports. I'm like, what the fuck did Republicans get? Who made a wish on a monkey's paw that Republicans would care about women's sports? Those people have been trying to shut
Wait a minute.
down women's
What
soccer
movie is
forever.
that? What movie was that? Where you
I
wish on the
know.
monkey's paw?
It was like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Not to show my age, but
Okay, so
which was a Canadian
100%.
show, by the way. So I'll give you props for that.
Thank you very much.
Most of my
Um,
shows growing up.
100% on that. I think I and that's the biggest, the you can't make fun, you can't go back and forth. What did I typed in the word moron. Moron, that's as mean as I got. Moron, and Twitter said, "Are you sure you want to tweet this? This isn't the appropriate language or something." It gave me a warning before I hit send. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"You're checking me on moron?" Did you
Yeah.
see what that last guy just wrote to me? I mean, I don't, you know,
It's an algorithm, and it's like everyone just keeps complaining about, oh, I'm getting censored. No, you're tripping a thing that they have a list of words, and
yeah,
then they're gonna put you through another system that checks to see if more words are there that show, and then maybe eventually somebody will look at it and try to put it
yeah,
into context. But
yeah,
like, get over yourself. In
yeah, yeah, yeah.
reality, most of it, and that's why I try to word things in certain ways, and especially use sarcasm.
Right.
I mean, if you're smart, you can actually throw some zingers at people without
Yeah,
risking getting kicked off. But you know
absolutely.
what? Honestly, I feel like my wife is the number one person reporting my tweets because she wants me off Twitter.
What?
She's
Why
just
would
like,
she want you
report,
off?
report.
She hates it.
I think she loves me and like doesn't love this, like.
Oh, so she's like just tired of watching you always on your phone?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten better. I used to be, especially during well, she also does like anesthesia. So during the pandemic, she'd be coming in like, having a hell of a day working it
Right.
overnight and like dealing with
You're like,
people dying of COVID while she's in a hazmat suit. And I'm like, look, I went viral today on a, like, making fun of Trump. And she's like, we're breaking up.
okay, so there leads it into, I think, because I think there's a world of difference between people going back and forth at each other or whatever and saying, you suck, no, you suck. First of all, it's all embarrassing for sometimes. But then what about people like Trump getting kicked off?
Oof. So I don't,
Marjorie Taylor Greene, the woman that
She's an
says
idiot.
Jews made a space laser and started forest fires. Do we
I
keep
First of all, I think she should be checked because I honestly think she's a Neanderthal. Throwing it back with that. I don't think she's a Homo sapien. And I want to run against her just so I can make t-shirts that say vote for the Homo parentheses sapien.
You should. I think it's a wide open race, you
Because
know?
if you Google Neanderthal, like the first photo, you'll be like, I think that's her. What is she doing at the Natural History Museum? And I'm like, no wonder she's a creationist. She doesn't believe in her parents. She's awful, but she's an idiot. And she's paid, like, that's the other thing. I feel like if I did do right wing, I could be a senator right now.
Whoa, easy. Well,
Easy.
you know the talking points. I know the talking points for
Yeah,
crying out loud.
it's not hard. It's just like, give people somebody to hate and somebody to blame, their problems on.
And
And
talk about the good old days. Listen, I think this
that never
ability,
existed.
yet that never existed,
Yeah.
but the ability to tap into nostalgia, especially of white people, not even lower middle class white people. I think to tap into a Leave It to Beaver era that never existed, but we remember seeing the TV show, I think is a pretty powerful thing. And that's what they do. And that's what, everybody's like, make America great again. It was such garbage, such garbage. I'm like, it's unfortunately brilliant. It For what it was trying to do, for
Well,
who it was.
Reagan created that slogan, or
Yeah, of
somebody even
course.
before him. I think like that. Nothing Trump has done is original.
No.
But I do, yeah. I mean, I think people are striving for something that never actually existed. It's kind of like when people are like, "Oh, well, there were fewer rapes back in the '60s." Well,
No.
rape wasn't illegal, like in marriages,
Yeah.
until the '70s, and that's
That was
why that
80 in
statistic is
Canada.
that.
That was 85.
Hey, well, you're welcome.
Listen, but you all are going backwards right now. I don't know what the hell is going on. It's funny.
Well,
You talk
but
about, I think it's,
I was going to say,
sorry.
here's the thing about free speech that I will say what annoys me is people will report. I dunk on a lot of people and I love it. I mean, I kind of am an insult comic. I can do a roast battle like no other.
Yeah.
And but people will report it because a lot of
Yeah.
times they'll say, anti-gay things to me. And I'm like,
Right.
Oh, okay, cool guy, lives in, dedicates his life to hating homosexuals because
Right.
that's normal for a straight person to do.
Right. And yours gets reported.
No, they'll report the guy and then the tweet will go away. And I'm like, no, I want to put this on display so people can see what these people are saying. Because when they get to cry, I'm being censored, then people are like, oh, well, that's not good. Because the thing about free speech is with all laws, I would never pass a law that I wouldn't want my greatest enemy to also be able to use.
Right.
And that's how I feel about with laws. Like you have to, before support it. The worst, the worst person in the world, would you fare well if they had that power?
True, but free speech in your country and in mine, I mean, it always within both constitutions stipulates within reasonable and justifiable limits. So like there are reasonable limits to free speech. It is not absolute. Nobody's ever said that your right to free speech is absolute, right?
No, well, first of all, you guys have a constitution? I don't know. When did you have yours?
I swear to God.
I think it was after 1780.
First of all,
whatever.
did we follow Britain's? Yes, we did. But you know what? It was working fine for a while, and then we picked up our own Charter of Rights and Freedoms in 1982.
82?
That was our own. We're a brand new country.
You are. You're a little cousin.
We're just
That's why we have our military ready. Like, don't mess with our little cousin.
You piss everybody off, and then you need to have a military ready. Stop invading every other country. You don't have to have such a strong bubble, Iron Man.
We will. Well, I mean, we have Alaska.
Okay, so wait a minute. So I'm going to give you an example because I agree. I like everybody to be able to say, because I do believe that better ideas win. Fundamentally, I believe that. Fundamentally, I believe that. Having said that, we used to have a in Alberta, which is a province in the West. There was a history teacher taught history the same as I did. Are you laughing because you know about Alberta? Some people don't know where
No,
Alberta
I'm
is.
just remembering geography
Okay,
tests.
you're like, it's
I
awful
remember
tough.
I got Yukon. That was pretty easy, the Yukon territory. I think I had a project.
This was a teacher taught history 10 before the internet, okay? And that's important for what I'm about to say. He taught, now he was in Alberta and he taught in northern, like a bit northern Alberta, for years, 10, 15 years, that the Holocaust didn't happen. Think about it for a second though. So a bunch of Christian Albertan kids, right? There's no Jewish kids in Alberta. Nobody in that vicinity was Muslim, was Jewish, was anything but Christian. And they'd go to class and he'd say stupid crap like, it was exaggerated. Here are some books to prove it, right? Here are some alternative facts, if I will. And the kid sat there until he'd been teaching for a while and a Jewish family happened to move to the area. This kid sits down, hears what he says, and goes home that night and says, "Hey, guess what I learned today?" So all of that goes to the court. And he says, free speech. Now what? I mean, what we did is he got fired, and that was a justifiable limit to your free speech because as a government representative, you do not get to, absolutely lie and create a level of anti Semitism and hatred towards a group of people. And so he was fired. Now, if free speech was absolute, does he get to say that?
Well, no, I mean, I don't think anyone has the right to a job.
Okay. All right. So that's interesting.
I
So
think
you'd
there's
say,
something different than if you were like, we're taking away your land. I don't know, like that's
I'm
just
trying
so
to relate
crazy
it.
to
I'm trying to
me.
go back to Twitter, right? Like, what should you be allowed? Should you be allowed to get on that platform?
No,
Should you be
because
allowed?
it's a
Sorry.
private company. It gets a little weird because it's the
True.
government, but like
Yeah,
with a
yeah, yeah.
private company, because it doesn't make sense. You can't, people are going to leave it. And if there's ad revenue or however, I think Elon wants to do a subscription. I mean, let's be real, he's not going to buy it.
No, he's trying to get out of it every minute.
But
Um,
like, no, he's just doing it
let's
now because he's enjoying fame. But like,
okay, wait. Let's say the government ran Twitter for a second. I know it's not because when we mix free speech and private enterprise, those things don't go hand in hand. My point is this: I'm more looking to you to try to understand what you would allow platforms for and allowed to have that platform no matter what they had to say, even if it was that, even if they gained significant support. Like I do think about Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of her horrific ideas, right, that she has all of this support for. And now we have this white replacement theory thing going a mile a minute and it's gaining massive support. Do we
what's
allow those things to?
unfortunately, and with a lot, and just based on history, and I think it is a dark time, and it's, this rise, is that people are eventually going to see it. And that's when you get the Marjorie Taylor, when you start allowing because a lot of people aren't on Twitter. I mean, a lot
Yeah,
of
well,
Americans aren't. The
sure.
normal
Yeah, yeah,
American,
yeah.
maybe they're watching Fox News or whatever. But
Yeah.
but the problem is with the internet, I just think people aren't seeing the repercussions of people's actions. It's kind of like Trump kept those inflation rates low. I'm sorry, inflation rates, interest rates really artificially low. And, now we're going to have inflation up. We're also going into a recession because, I mean, it's just, giving money out during the thing. And it's now going to be all on Biden because of when
Yeah.
it landed. It's just kind of with this country, it's like people need to see it firsthand. And that's why, especially I just feel like with the gay movement, it's a perfect, why we've had such progress is because people started coming out. And it's hard to say homosexuals are evils, deviant, when your best friend is.
Sure.
Or when a family member is, because it humanizes them. It's really easy for somebody in Timbuktu, Oklahoma to hate me. I mean, it's got to be a little hard because look at my hair. It's just like, I just think with Marjorie Taylor, it's so easy to just hate people who are just this like group, or these distant people, these people who are on the internet and they say these mean things, because things just get blown up. But when you see it in real life and it's in your own small community, I think that's when people will start hopefully rising up. Now, then again, we could be, Germany 1939 right now.
Well,
38.
that's, and I get I believe in some fundamentals. I believe that people are inherently good. Maybe it's the Canadian in me, I don't know, but I do believe that more people are inherently good. I think people that aren't inherently good really like grab the microphone a lot more frequently. I think that's the big difference. I really think that good, honest, lovely people that want the best for everybody in a real way maybe don't know what they think about the gays or the trans community because they don't know them, but once you put one in their house or at their dinner table, somehow everything shifts, right? I don't think people are inherently evil and greedy and I don't. So I do think eventually that wins out. But what I'm terrified, I really genuinely am terrified. And everybody, used to say, "Oh, it'll never happen," all that. But before 1939 in Germany, it was the most respected democracy in the world. Its constitution was created so that a dictator would never take over. That was the premise of the constitution. Um, and then we watch that happen, and what ends up happening is good people stood by. I mean, that's the whole first they came for the kind of thing. But Marie, they're coming for people, right? At first, they came for the women who wanted abort. Well, first they came for the trans, and then they came for the women who wanted abortions and women's bodies, and then. I mean, it's happening. You you're seeing this rescindance of rights all over the place, and we're watching it in real time, and we're standing around arguing that the right doesn't have enough free speech on Twitter.
Right. Well, that's because they're boohoo. I mean, it's a victimization thing.
Yeah.
It's, and with Roe v. I mean, I'm very vocal about that because it just drives me nuts. I feel like we're doing prohibition. It's just like, which failed and
Does
brought a lot of crime and a lot of
exactly.
death and all that because, the religious right has to be like, we know what's best. And I'm like, oh, please. The cool thing about abortion is that you can get one at noon and still make it to your pro-life rally by 5 p.m. You know what I mean? That's the truth about abortion. You're kidding yourself if you think all these pro-life people haven't gotten one done. But then they blame the doctor because, it wasn't their choice. They just showed up, went in,
Absolutely.
did the consultation, signed the line,
Yeah.
and then anyways, it's hard because there is a growing thing, and I think it's, Me Too. I think men are upset, but I honestly don't know. I was shocked when I read Alito's, which we still don't know if that's the one they're going to go with. I'm just
Sure.
shocked that they went all out. Could there be a different opinion for the majority? That's something that allows. I mean, I do think Roe v. Wade, a lot of it's going to be stripped out. Do I think maybe they'll allow something like federally for exceptions? The health of the mother. I mean, I hope, but I'm shocked. I mean, this is 50 years of precedent. I get that it's a poorly written decision in terms of they just created, but that's kind of the evolution and what the Constitution's for. It has to adapt to the people.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of shocked by how few people, like, there are a lot of men speaking out, and I give them props because they don't have to, and I think, saying men don't have an opinion, or shouldn't have an opinion, needs to kind of stop, because you need as many people as you can speaking out, especially people in power, and not just Democrats, because you're full of shit if you think people in the red states are getting abortions.
Well, and it's just that vote when they couldn't codify it was disgusting. You're telling me every single Republican, but it's become so entrenched that if you are a Democrat, you vote with the Democrats. If you're a Republican, you vote with the Republicans, come hell or high water. Even on an issue like this, which I know there's no way that 50 Republican senators all believe that this should be stripped down, and we know that's not true because I've heard some of them speak out, in support of it. So
politicians have just relied on Roe v. Wade basically to get votes for the past 50 years. This has been going on, in that both sides have been complacent, because at any time Democrats could have passed, when they had majority.
True.
But they could have passed it. Right. They didn't want to. Why? Because they just assume it'll stay. And they were also kind of like, most people support it. It's, it fires up your base. Republicans are never going to do anything because, abortion voters they're like gun people.
Right.
One issue voters. So all they care about is cells or whatever, the zygotes.
Right. Zygotes.
I'm dying. I get so worked up over having rights taken away. I'm so American.
Well, it's so the thing that I find, it's funny because we started this at 216 and you're at that, lesbian party and they're all crying and you're like, don't worry, we still have the Constitution. And now it's not to laugh, but it's 6 years later and we kind of don't. And guess what? When I said earlier, you guys shit the bed, it gets all over us. Guess what people are talking about up here now, right? Pierre Poilievre, who is running for the leadership of the Conservative Party, is starting to talk about if he's elected prime minister, he'd have an open vote. That's all code, right? That's all code for, in Canada, you vote with your party. We have party whips. Parties vote as a block. But every once in a while, the prime minister or the leader of the party will say, listen, you don't have to vote with the party. We're not going to say what the party line is. You're going to vote your conscience. Like, you're going to vote what you think you should vote. Heaven forbid what your constituents want, but what you think we should vote, right? And so when he says things like that, holy crap, it's opening up the same window, the same caveat, right? And he's going to see how he can push it. At the very least, he's going to do exactly what Republicans have done, which is ride it a little bit and pick up all of the votes he can possibly pick up that are religiously based, that want to see an end to this. But when I did you read Alito's opinion? Did you slough through those pages?
Yeah. Most of it.
I'm not a lawyer by any stretch. I don't sit down and read drafts of Supreme Court decisions, but that guy quoted so many 18th century philosophers. I'm like, what are you quoting here? Who are you? You're talking about a guy who at the same time was advocating for burning women as witches. This is the guy you're going to use to make a case for 2022. And I can't,
Yeah. That's just, first of all, I'll just quickly, I feel like if you kicked the French out sooner, you wouldn't have that Pierre or whoever guy. If you listen to your older cousin, we kicked out the British, we could have told you. The French left on their own because they knew they didn't want to fuck with us.
Listen.
By the way, I'm drinking from a Disney mug, just so you know I say gay.
Nice. Disney says gay too. Way,
another thing, DeSantis, all of his laws get overturned by the courts eventually. he's just
It's
running
true.
and he's making up all this shit that I'm like,
It's
that's
true.
unconstitutional.
Yep. I 100%. Well, do you think this whole the don't say gay thing will get overturned? I know he never said gay. For the love of God, if one more idiot says, "Joanna, the bill never said gay," I'm like, listen, you dumb motherfucker. Can you please just read into the bill just a touch? Do you think that will get overturned? Because I don't think it will.
Like, how many things? A lot of bills don't say the actual word, but when you sum it,
Do
it's
you
actually
think that one will
they
get?
say
Yeah.
sexual orientation. They actually, it's even the people who presented the bill, because a huge part of laws is how the legislature, um, their intent behind it. And they
Right.
were honest. They were like, "Oh yeah, we're doing it because a lot of kids are coming out as gay, so there must be some influence." And
Yep.
no offense, I knew I was gay when I was young.
Yeah.
Stayed closeted because back then I wanted to be cool. No,
Yeah.
no,
Well,
but like, it wasn't like, everyone was saying, "Oh, that's so gay." And who was gay? The gym teachers? Do you think they made me run laps? Do you think I was like, "Oh, I want to hit that"? I was like, "I want to hit that," you know, with a freaking softball
everybody's
bat
gym teacher was gay. It's so
because they
true.
were the
Ours was
only
made
one.
fun of. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they were gay because it was like, yeah, you knew they were gay. Other people
It
could have been
was,
gay. Everyone's
it was,
gay. I think everyone's gay, but
I say that all the time. Everybody's a little bit gay.
all gay. Um,
But do you think that that law is going to get overturned?
I
Because
honestly,
the way they worded it,
yeah, no, they made it broad, and that's the thing. I understand. I don't think people should talk to kids about. First of all, it annoys me also that the groomer stuff, and I'm just like,
oh,
I
that
know
word.
3 girls from my like high school who had hooked up with like coaches or something, like from other school or whatever. Like
Right.
this, and I also worked at a law firm for a brief time, and there are cases of actual teachers, and guess what? It was male and female. It's
Oh,
that, it's just that bringing
yeah.
up the old 80s hysteria of, homosexuals are predators, and it drives me nuts because I support, and I think most people would support, like, hey, don't talk to kids about sex when they're 8. Everyone supports that. But you had to go after the sexual orientation. And that's
Yeah.
just like you're hitting one group. And,
Yeah.
then they use videos from libs of TikTok or whatever. But you can find crap and crazy teachers,
And
mouthing off
crazy
and
everything. You know what I mean? Again,
exactly. Everyone's crazy.
100%. You can find insane people everywhere, and you're going to use this one video that's going to denote. You know what I mean? Well, it's interesting because we've had the same again spills all over us. We had reformed sex ed curriculum for
Hmm.
elementary through high school in I don't know, 215 or something, like 214, something like that. And then our latest premier and he goes, "Oh, I don't like that. I'm going to revert it all to 1998." So whatever the curriculum was in 1998, which is the last time a conservative had the reins, that's what I'm going to
Oh,
revert it to.
they weren't even doing anal back then.
Uh, well, they were doing it.
I
They just
know.
don't talk about it. Um, but they go back to that, and so, well, first of all, I teach whatever. I'm not a gym teacher. Shocking. But I have taught gym. Unfortunately, I hate it like more than life. Um, but and we don't do elementary. But when I look at the elementary school curriculum, it's interesting because they, again, it's all about this, you know, burning witches, quite literally, and raising these things that don't happen, but then skipping over the things that we still need to do. Like, for example, in grade 1 in the new curriculum, you name body parts. That's what the curriculum includes. Name eyes, nose, mouth. You just don't skip over the middle anymore. That's it. You just name the parts.
Right.
That's it. You name the parts. And this is where people are like, "Well, that's talking about sex." No, 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 no. There's no sex. You freak. You're naming body parts. And I also get very frustrated because people say, like, take the 8-year-old. What's 8? Is that like grade 3? Whatever that is.
Second, I think.
Second grade, third grade? When do kids get phones? Because, like, all of my grade 6, they all have phones, right? Like, a lot of them have phones.
What?
Oh my God.
I think I got
All
one
the grade
after
6s,
9/11.
all the grade 6s have phones. So I'm gonna give you a heads up. Here's the reality. Or if you don't want your kid to have a phone, cool. So and so's mother gave him a phone. So they're all sitting around that one phone at lunchtime, looking at that phone, deciding what to look up that day because they overheard somebody use, they said the word anal sex. Oh, I don't know what that is. Hey, guys, let's check it out. Oh, I don't want to look at the Wikipedia page. Can we just hit the video button? I think that would be. We don't live in an era where we can afford not to talk about it anymore.
Well, I think it's funny too because people are like, "Oh, yeah," and I think it's 100%. But like in our day, I'm just gonna be like Encyclopedia Brown made me a dyke because in our day we didn't, trek on down to the library, get
The
out the
library.
encyclopedia, flip to vagina, and then you got to see fallopian tubes. I don't know. You're like, oh, well, how does that work? I don't know. What's in there? I don't know.
And that did
But
the opposite. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, I just think it's parents suck. Let's be real. Parents are horrible people. Like,
Well,
let me
you
bring that
can't
back.
limit this.
No, like, I just feel like I will take it back. Okay. When I was in third grade or fourth grade, I was playing in a soccer tournament. And this is the moment I realized parents are horrible people. Not mine. Mine are perfect because they raised a perfect daughter too.
Who dropped out of law school, but yeah.
No, I passed.
Right. Finish
That's the
law
worst.
school and
I paid
then
for
just screw it
everything.
out.
And then I can go to Judge Judy. I can go in front of the bar. Um maybe I'll get hired at court TV. I don't know.
Maybe.
I still remember this to this day. I think I was 9, 8 or 9, and playing the soccer tournament. And we had a girl who had a pixie haircut, which this is like late night. It was still whatever. 90s were a crazy time,
Yep.
and the parents were like, "She's a boy," because she was really good, and they were like, "Oh, she's a boy. They're cheating," and just yelling and like laughing about it. And I
Yeah.
just remember being like, "Oh, parents are dicks. Like they're horrible people." Because you just think kids are bullies or whatever.
Yeah.
But you always think parents are good people because your parents are,
Yeah.
so you just assume like they're all mature adult. It's kind of like until work retail, you think like retail people are really nice when really they're like, go fuck
Horrible.
yourself. Yeah,
It's true.
behind the counter. Yeah. Um, and I don't know. Ever since then, I've just been like, parents are like a lot of them when they get into, and I just feel like it's a rise of this. It's like these parents making fun of kids, complaining that they can't bully trans kids. I'm just like, you people should be aborted
Mm-hmm.
and sent to Canada. I
We
meant to
already have
say
Jordan.
aborted a boat and go a long way around the scenic route, say out of California.
That's what makes me crazy when I hear people like, well, the parent should have more involvement in the curriculum. The parent should have more. And I'm like, are you kidding? We're trying to overcome all the damage that's done at the house, all the prejudice, all the discrimination, all the bullying, all of the aggression.
The irony is, do you know what they did to accomplish their one job? They fucked. And they don't want to like, I'm like, that's the only reason you have your job as a mother. Okay. That makes you qualified to sit and tell us all whether we can read Catcher in the Rye because you caught in the V.
I've read that book so many times. I still don't understand what people are pissed about. I'm like, where's the good part? I don't
None of
see
these people read anything. It's kind of like, oh, we got to get rid of the queer books. I'm like, I never read for fun once. And I graduated law school. I'm somewhat smart. Never read the Cliff Notes, Spark Notes back then. But like, do you think I was marching down and I was like, oh, I can't wait to marry my Prince Charming? Oh, what's this book? It's colorful. Like, who goes to the library? I think it's so funny. I'm like, no, your kid's watching a fucking YouTube or a TikTok of a teacher in Canada who's talking, and she's like, you know what? I'm going to dump my Prince Charming and I'm going to gay out.
True. Listen, I've never wanted more. If I was independently wealthy, Ron DeSantis would have passed that dumbass bill and I would have packed it all up. I would have got myself a really nice RV and I would have taught from that RV all over Florida. I just would have stopped. I would have had a speaker system and I just would have belted it out. And as soon as he started going after Disney, I could have had a home base. We could have taken the entire state on.
That gayest place on earth.
The happiest, gayest place on earth. It's
Yeah,
true.
I'm
Thank God.
excited. I
Thank
love Disney
God he
World.
pushed them too hard. Thank God. Good for you, Ron. Because I
Well,
was really worried for a minute.
here's the thing, though. I think, it, I mean, I could go into like a whole lawyer, but I do think politically, as much as the right wing, I just feel like a lot of people are just, it's very reactionary. And it's the people who are online. I do think they're conservative. Like my dad is a Republican. And my mom's like, I'm not, because he's old. She's like, I'm not driving him to the voting polls. So I have to,
you can be a Republican, but you'll have zero impact on the voting.
Exactly. And but he's very against the don't say gay, not just because he's always been a very big free speech. And with Ron DeSantis, though, I mean, I get that he's trying to be like, don't be woke, but that's a great slogan. But if you're running a $1 billion company, and I know of some companies that they've decided we're not going to open up in Florida because we don't want to have to deal with the government. Because, I mean, Republicans are supposed to be laissez-faire, hands off. And all of a sudden they're, oh, you don't want us to, like, hate gays? We're going to come after you.
Right.
And Disney Disney is why Florida exists. It's truly why they don't have a state income tax.
It's true. It's all going to go to crap. When I realized he was going to go up against Disney, I thought, well, at least we won't have him as governor anymore. Because I really do think if Disney puts their weight into it, he can't. There's 77,000 people that work just for Disney.
He's running for president. That's what this is.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
And he might win.
God.
These people are all faking. The thing is that it's all these people who are brought up in the South. Then they fucking come up to Harvard and they learn how to be like horrible assholes. Because in the Northeast, we're horrible assholes. But I don't have like I was almost suspended for calling someone a Homo sapien. I'm not even kidding, in 8th grade. Because it was whatever. But like, I mean, we were just, I don't know. I was Disney.
Well, thank God you have the cup.
I support it. I love Taylor. I love Disney. I have all the gay, I have my gay ears because I'm obnoxious.
It's funny because I get a lot of, I look the way that I look. I have TikTok. I do whatever it is I do. I have the tattoo, the whole 9 yards, right? It's so funny because kids look at me and think I'm way cooler than that. People in general look at me and think I'm a different person. I'm like, oh, guys, listen, I know I have tattoos and I have the cool haircut and I might wear the baggy pants and the backwards hat. But let me give you some insight. I'm the most boring person on the planet. I like to be in bed by 10. I don't party in any real shape, way, or form. My favorite thing to do is talk politics. I am not the person you think I am or I presented myself to be. But I do have a big mouth, so I do like to run that. But a lot of people are like, how do you still have a job? How can you, and I hear these horror stories from teachers saying, I couldn't have said that. I had to shut down my social media. I had to do this. I had to do that. There's no way if I talked about my partner at school, I would have been fired. And this isn't just from the South. This is all over the freaking place. I have people from everywhere messaging me.
Are you saying in the US or in Canada?
Yeah. No, in the United States, not in Canada. Canada, it's a little bit different. Sometimes if you work for the board, the tattoos don't matter. The being gay doesn't matter. Sometimes social media would matter. right? Like
Yeah.
if you work for the government in any, and that's what you're doing when you're a teacher, technically. I work at a private school. You work for the government. So in that way, a lot of them, like nurses, really shouldn't have social media. You should stay away from, a lot of those people don't have social media. I think it's asinine. I think it's completely directed. They're like, don't parents get mad? I'm like, I'm exactly the same person talking on TikTok, talking to you right now, standing in front of my class or in parent teacher night. I might put on a nice jacket for parent. That's it. That's the difference. That's the only difference. And I don't think I could be any other way, but you have all of these great teachers quitting down, especially in the States. They're
Yeah.
all like, I'm done. I'm out.
Which is so funny because then it's like the parents are spending the reason it's like teachers can't have TikTok or whatever because they're worried kids will find it. And I'm like, probably because their parents are too busy calling me, every horrible word ever on Twitter and being like, I'm protecting my kid. I'm like, meanwhile, your kid is Googling, two girls, one cup.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to get across. It's like for people who think we shouldn't be addressing when they say, "Oh, we shouldn't talk to little kids about sex or we shouldn't talk about this or what." First of all, nobody's talking about kindergarten kids about intercourse. That's not the point. But I'm saying right now is the ability to access stuff is instantaneous, it is powerful, it is awesome and terrifying all at the same time. But if we don't talk about it, if we don't put it on the table as adults in places where kids respect and actually have to be there and have to pay attention for 5 seconds, if we don't do that, then me teaching history, quadratic equations,
Oh,
all of it becomes a distant memory because their life, their safety, their bodily autonomy is all at risk. And if that's at risk, nothing else matters anymore. Right? We're in the starting point, and it's all because kids can pick up the phone or sit at a computer at any given moment and access anything they want. No, I don't care what kind of parent. You would have to lock your kid up in the room, homeschool them, never give them a phone, never let them be on the internet unsupervised in order for them to not gain access to the world that now exists.
yeah. As opposed to just because they're going to eventually have access. So they got to know kind of
And if they have no
how to get over it.
conversation about it, right? Like I would be, and I it gets frustrating, and maybe it's because I go looking for, just kind of like you know how you go looking for, you like the crowd that's going to boo you and maybe throw a couple things. I feel like I have a little bit of that in me too, because I want to be in a room with Ben Shapiro. I want to be in a room with DeSantis. I purposefully search their crap because I feel as though unless there's somebody standing in the room being as loud as they are, then that message, that, lovely free speech, that message gets to be the echo when in actuality there should be, somebody arguing against it consistently.
Well, unfortunately, unless you're a 19-year-old university student who has half a semester of debate and socialism or
Jordan
something, they're
wants to
not
talk.
going to. I mean, all of that stuff is edited. All of that stuff is, they're not putting in, posting the videos with the smart kids or with
Right.
people their own age. I'm like, you have a Harvard law degree and you're going around debating 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
I used to think that was embarrassing, and now it's a business strategy. I mean, I think a
True.
lot of, the Daily Wire, a lot of these things are basically they're setting up to have an entertainment industry to counter
Yeah.
Hollywood. This whole Hollywood is so evil, which a lot of it is. I mean, people are evil, but anyone in power is evil. That's why you got to check them. But they want to create, movies where there's no such thing as gay people, no such thing as
Right.
trans people, all these different things. And it's a money thing. It's a moneymaker. I mean, they just want to kind of split the country in that if you want to be conservative. I think the internet has allowed certain people to look like they're a lot bigger and more supportive
Yeah.
than they are. And then,
Right.
so with Joe Rogan is left wing. I mean,
Yeah.
he's crossed over because he gets so much shit online, I think.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I never will get this, but then again, I mean, I've gotten shit from the first time I ever had anyone write like an article about me, it was from
Mhm.
a lesbian who shit on me. Because I made a T-shirt that said "unqualified lesbian." Remember Miranda from Sex and the City ran from governor. It was in Vogue, well, Teen Vogue, but Vogue, you know. Yeah, they wrote up about it, and it was like a big thing, and I quickly did it.
Yeah.
Sold a bunch, and then she wrote this article about how the shirt encourages men to buy it, and that's against lesbians, and then I'm like, I was like, I hate you. You know me with grudges. I still hate Canada because I got stuck in traffic for 3 hours once, like 7 years ago. So this
send you some
girl,
maple syrup. We're gonna call it a day.
oh, that would smooth it over. I love maple syrup.
It's on its way.
I love me some pancakes. I always cut in the middle. I always eat pancakes on the road, which is weird. And then I cut it in the middle and I pour the syrup in. It's the only way to keep it, or else it disappears.
I don't think you're allowed to come back to Canada. I think you might have
I'm okay
reached
with that.
the Canadian. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
No doubt
You're going to be wearing little red outfits with hats in about 5 seconds. We'll see how much you want to come out here.
I'll wear my Bruins jersey.
Boston Bruins.
I was walking to Montreal traffic.
Montreal.
I never forget.
God.
Every hockey game is a 9/11 for me.
Oh my God. Are you a big hockey fan?
I love the Bruins.
That's
I grew
it?
up going with my dad.
And you like the Red Sox?
I'm not like, oh, like the Penguins look good this year. You know, I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, you're not like that.
And unfortunately we lost. But the Celtics are on tonight.
But you gotta love the Red Sox, right?
Well, it's legally, legally
You
I
have
to.
I've been to
actually
games.
Oh, what games? Oh, Toronto. They're not real. That's not real. That's like
Boston.
affirmative action.
I go to baseball. I love baseball. I go to baseball diamonds all over the place. But I've been to 3 Boston games in Boston, and I've always, all 3 times, sat in the Green Monster. So I pay the big bucks to make sure I know.
Well, this is
what I do.
Have you run some ads during this podcast? How are you getting?
Because a friend of mine said, "Listen, this is what you do when you go to a Boston game. You buy, if you can get it, you buy the standing tickets at the Green Monster. You can stand, right? For anybody that knows, we're talking about left field, right? And there's seats, these beautiful seats called the Green Monster, but you can stand behind it, and you stand for like 3 innings, and then all of those rich people go home.
Yeah.
Nobody stays in those seats. And so you're like, 3 innings, you stand for a while, you sweat to death because there's no shade up in there, and then you move down. 3 games. Never caught a ball, though. Maybe next time.
I feel like you figured it out.
It is. It's a beautiful, listen, you guys have a beautiful, beautiful baseball park. And the way that it's embedded in the city and the way that it feels like it's embedded in the city is perfect. The only other baseball.
When did you go?
I've been a few different years. So I went, before COVID.
When was your last one? Because I lived like right next to my apartment.
Oh, I love it.
Like I look to the right, and there was Fenway Park. So maybe we walk by each other, and I was like, look at that stupid Canadian walk by with those tattoos. She must be tough.
She can take traffic.
I bet she teaches gym.
I definitely thought I taught gym.
I bet she sat in Montreal traffic.
I'm so mad. So this year I had to teach gym, and I joke, my grade 7 and 8s are lovely. So I teach grade 7 all the way through 12. And I had to teach gym this year. COVID's a situation, teachers, whatever. Anyways, and it just so happened that it was like, I've been teaching for 20 years. The first year I've had to teach gym, and it's literally the course. I don't want to teach drama. I don't want to teach gym. And I had to do it. And so I'd already taught the grade 7, 8s. I go, guys, I have some bad news. And they're like, what? I said, I have to teach you gym this year. And they're like, yeah, it's great. It's going to be great or whatever. They're like, why? Aren't you good at sports? I'm like, no, I'm really good at sports. I don't think any of you are.
Ooh,
I'm not going to enjoy it. I don't want to play dodgeball. I don't want to play any low organizational games involving scooters of any kind. Um,
scooters.
it just, gym. Because you're not playing with athletes. You're playing with gym people. Gym people aren't athletes. So it's the worst thing I've ever had to do.
I feel because the Celtics are in the playoffs. It's a big deal.
I'm
Basketball.
good
Do you
with
watch
that.
basketball? And
I
they're
I
winning
well,
right now, 70-45. I had to quickly check. It's
I
playoff
love I
Boston.
like I like Boston teams. Like in my, I do like
I like
Boston
you
teams.
now.
The
I'm
the only
almost over
other
Montreal.
team, the only and I don't know if you've ever been, but the only other baseball team stadium, and I don't know why I loved it as a kid, but as an adult I love the stadium. It's Detroit Tiger Stadium.
Oh, I thought you were going to
It
say Yankee
is
Stadium, and I was going to close
no,
my laptop.
no, I've never been to a Yankees game.
Good.
Um,
They're on the
but
axis of evil.
Detroit, first of all, nobody hates Detroit because why
I
would you
do.
hate Detroit? There's
I
no,
do.
there's not
I
a
do.
why.
We do.
Why do you got to
Oh, I
hate Detroit?
remember what was the playoffs? And the guy flipped over and his legs were sticking up, and then the cop was like, ah, and that we had plastered everywhere. Everyone had those photos. Fuck
But
Detroit.
Detroit loses all the time. How can you hate Detroit? It's not like it's this big team.
We're
I
America.
understand the
We're
New York
like
thing.
we import and export hate. It's like our GDP. Like, how can you hate Detroit? Like Boston sports,
Hate.
I can hate anything.
Well, you got to go to a Detroit. You got to go to the park though. The park makes you feel like it was straight out of Field of Dreams. Like it's that vibe of a park, you know? It's not super it's very low budget, it's very low key. Like I said, I find Boston's park very similar, even though it's a bit bigger, but I find it very similar. I find it very humble in a way, the
Now,
park.
do you
It's
like
not
football?
I've never seen a football game. I would love to. I love football is probably one of my favorite sports that I've never seen because we have the CFL and I'm not. What am I?
What's
But
that?
I, well,
I'm kidding.
Canadian.
That's where the people who weren't good enough for the NFL go.
Exactly. Smaller. We're just a little smaller and we're polite. We
I
say,
love how
"Oh,
you just
sorry, we're
accept
bumping."
that. I love how you just accepted it. You're so polite. I love this. I'm the
We're
youngest,
so
but I feel like I'm
nice.
shitting on my younger sister right now. Like, you're just like, I'll take it because you're my babysitter.
But I love football. If somebody used to say like what's your favorite like my favorite sports movie is probably Rudy and then it goes down with like
Oh,
football movies. Right? Like I want to go to Notre Dame just cuz I want to sit in that, right?
fun fact. I went to a Notre Dame game. They played BC. I drove there, got swine flu in 2009, and almost died. I like to say it was a Chick-fil-A because I did go to Chick-fil-A for the first time. And then like the next day I
You know what? You're
110 degrees.
gay. You went to a Catholic school and then you ate at Chick-fil-A. I think it was karma.
My cross broke. I was trying to fit in.
Shot right up.
I was trying to fit in. And yeah, I mean, I think Mike Pence was the governor of Indiana. I feel like there was collusion. The Chick-fil-A, Mike
I
Pence, they wanted to take me out
listen.
young
Yeah. Oh, Mike Pence.
or
Um,
date me young.
oh, he's just the
Freaky.
worst. I said I put it out to my followers too. I'm like, guys, can you just show me a rational Republican? Can I see one of those for a minute? And a few people have like tried to send me, examples of like healthy Republicans because I'm like, I just can't come across any. I'm having a real hard time.
I used to be a Republican.
And then what happened? You became gay?
I
And you
got
went, I
sober.
can't be a Republican. You got to get out.
I got sober. I just went for like socializing because I had friends who worked for campaigns. Like I went to
Wait, did you go to all those Madison Cawthorn parties with the cocaine and
whoa,
the
whoa, whoa. When I say I went to like, I mean, this was, I went actually to a Tea Party rally by accident. I was trying to get pizza. Sarah Palin was there. It
no?
was in Boston Common. And I was like, none of you people are from Boston. This is like, Worcester. This is like Springfield.
Worcester.
You might as well be in Detroit. Um, it's, they all packed up the minivan. Apparently, I had nowhere to be on a Thursday at 3 p.m. Good for them.
Oh,
I was just looking for some pizza, and she's an idiot.
oh yeah.
Have you ever seen the video of her? She gets interviewed by the news, and they're like, "Oh, why are you or whatever?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm in the North End and the Freedom Trail, and Paul Revere, he was ringing those bells, telling the British they're not going to take our arms." And it's like, yes, the guy who, under the cover of darkness, was trying to get to Warren, he was just ringing those bells and making noise so the British would know where he was.
Why?
I
Like,
love it.
why
She's
don't
so
they just
stupid.
study up for a minute? You don't. That's not a
She's in
lot.
Alaska. That's Canada. They don't study there. It's America's Yukon territory. They pay people to live in Alaska. Did you know that?
Listen, at the end of the day, you bought it from Russia, and they had a bit of gold, so it all worked out.
We did? Yeah, that sounds about. I thought we
Yeah, you
stole
did.
it from
You
you
bought it from
guys.
Russia.
I just assumed we stole it from you. And you guys were polite about it. You're like, okay, just don't keep going.
You can have
Hey,
some.
hey.
Go right ahead. Nobody's living up here.
I
We're
love
not as polite
Canada.
as you think we are. We've done some pretty horrible things.
I know. Vancouver versus Boston, 2011. I never
You are,
forget 9/11. Everything was 9/11 to me.
my God.
But you should.
Well,
When do you come up to Boston? We should go to a Patriots game.
oh, 100%. I will drive to Boston as soon as I'm allowed to drive. Like, I mean, this summer, pretty much, I probably could drive to Boston because I'm off in the summer, right? And it's not a bad drive.
Yeah.
It's a nice drive, but I love baseball. I love Wales. So
So you want
you
to go to
guys have all
Provincetown?
those, it's just amazing. You know what I mean? My fiance loves like witches and stuff like that. So we'll hit up Salem.
You should go in
I
the
kind of want to go right down the coast of Maine.
well, I have not to plug it, but July 2nd, I'm playing in Portland, Maine. I'm headlining.
Ooh, maybe I can make that work. July 2nd. When am I done? Oh, yeah. Pride's over then.
Oh, when's your Pride?
Well, it's when everybody's Pride's supposed to be. Last
Us?
weekend of last weekend of
No,
June.
ours is like the second. I think we're going to France like the next week or something. So
What do
I
you mean you're
missed
just on the second?
the second week or something. We are the same time as LA because I was supposed to go out to
Oh, because you
LA.
push it. You push it because New York took the good Pride?
Fucking Yankees. Hate New York.
Well, they do have Stonewall. I think they get first dibs.
We had gay marriage first.
When did you guys get gay marriage?
I got gay married actually 3 months ago. I know that wasn't the question, but I just wanted
3 months ago.
or maybe
Congratulations.
2. March 29th.
You should
It's
really like
less than 2.
put that in your
No, I only remember feuds, hockey.
and 9/11.
Yeah. No, I was in Hawaii. I got married in Hawaii.
Oh, that's
Very
lovely.
excited. It was amazing. We eloped. No one was
That's
there.
even
It was
better.
great. I hate weddings. My own was
Um,
awesome.
you'll appreciate this. So I'm engaged, but I've been trying to manipulate my TikTok and use it to get married in Disney.
I will go.
So we've done a few TikToks where I'm just dropping hints, right? And then
Right.
hoping that one pops off and, somebody from Disney sees it and says, you know what? Our reputation's taken a bit of a hit. We would love for this beautiful lesbian couple who has a few followers on TikTok to come down and get married in front of the castle and not pay us $30,000 because that's how much it costs to get married in front of the castle.
That's it.
$30,000 just to
I feel
stand
like,
there.
are you sure that's on Disney? I feel like it's like $100,000.
No, it's 30 grand to stand. That's nothing. You get nothing. You get married in 10 minutes. That's what your 30,000 gets you. That's nothing else.
Dude, go to Hawaii.
I'm just, I
They have a
kind of
Disney
now,
property in Hawaii.
it would be, I actually got one of my followers works for Universal Studios and works in the technical, like whatever. And she's like, you should come down or whatever. And I'm like, oh, maybe you want to get married at Hogwarts. I don't know. I could do Hogwarts too. Like,
I've never seen or read Harry Potter.
I watched them because of my fiance because I'm too old for that.
How old is your fiance, if you don't mind me asking?
Younger.
I was going to say,
She will, she'll never let me tell anybody. She tells everybody she's 94.
yeah.
She is younger than I am. And so she loves Harry Potter. So I'm like, oh, maybe that. But I'm gonna try. I just think Disney maybe needs a little bit of a, this could go really well to piss off Ron, build up their esteem a little bit, right? I think it would be good for Disney to marry a TikTok couple in front of the castle.
I say just do remember when they used to do flash dances?
And just get married.
Listen, I'm an ordained minister. I got it when I was blackout drunk once, and I woke up and there was an email that was like, welcome to ministry. And I was like,
Are
okay.
you serious?
Yeah, it's on brand for me.
Done. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what we'll do.
I will
We'll
marry.
just,
Yeah, and if anyone asks, we'll just put on a goofy hat, and I'll be like, no,
and that's it. We're ready to roll.
We're reenacting Tangled. I don't know.
I'm in. Reenacting Tangles. And on that note, before it, oh my God, we've been on for an hour and 40 minutes. This is my longest podcast ever.
Oof, you're going to have to cut that down.
Oh, I don't cut, by the way. There's no editing. I don't edit anything. I'm against editing. This is it.
The whole time.
We should have plugged the whole time.
How am I going to get canceled?
I don't care. I don't cut anything. I can sound like a complete idiot. I'm still posting it. Just the way it is. I like it.
You know, I hope there
prepares you for the real world.
You don't have fans in Vancouver.
You'll be getting their messages on your Twitter feed.
Are you near Vancouver?
What?
Are you near Vancouver?
No,
I don't really. Ottawa. No, because you're in Eastern time.
I'm in Ontario. I'm in Toronto. Vancouver is on the opposite coast.
I don't like Toronto.
Because
my wife, we were dating like 2 months.
You dated a girl from
7
Toronto?
years ago. No, just my wife got stuck at the airport because of Air Canada, and she was supposed to go to Spain, and they had to go to Toronto. And then, she missed her flight by 10 minutes, and I had to sit and listen to her complain.
That's not Toronto's fault. That's Air Canada's fault.
And it was very well, your airline.
Listen, it's not nationalized. It just says Air Canada. It's kind of like when you go to Lazy Boy, it's not Lazy Boy. They just bought the name so they can sell the Lazy Boy.
I like how you didn't say American. I was waiting. I was like, oh, she's going to get
I don't like any direct comparison.
Lazy Boy, and that actually works better for American because I'm like, we are lazy.
I like going the other way. All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. I would love it if you'd come back. We can just talk. I don't even remember what we talked about. I think we can just yammer on for apparently an hour and 40 minutes and call it a day.
Hey, you're coming. We're going to you can show me how to TikTok. You can come to Maine or New England. It's all the same.
We're gonna go.
We'll TikTok.
We'll come to your show. We'll go to Boston. We'll go catch a game, and then you can come back on my podcast whenever you want.
I love it.
How about that, guys? I'm gonna put all of her stuff, all of her connections, where to find her on Twitter, maybe what your website is, so they can look you up there. What is your website?
www.thistall.
Stop. Listen. You don't need to say www
I think
anymore.
You do.
I don't think you do.
Because science. I don't know.
Science.
Isn't there? Okay. You got to do www because I want you to know it's the World Wide Web. thistalawkwardgirl.com. COM, not .ca. That
my website's .ca because I am Canadian. Really? So they're going to check out your website. Check out where. Did you ever come to Canada and perform?
No, I haven't.
Lazy.
I want to. Where should I? Where would be the best place? Who would hate me? What's the best place?
You got to come to Toronto. Why don't you come to Toronto and chirp Toronto?
A lot of the time, I just make fun of whatever state I'm in. So
listen, Montreal, you can try to make fun of Montrealers. They'll take you to task.
I will go on for 3 hours just so they can know what it's like to sit there and have to listen to whatever.
You can talk about the Canadians. Listen, if you come to Toronto, though, pull some punches for the Leafs because we don't need any more shots. It is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
All right? We got to stand beside them. Whatever.
I was at that game 7. The year we won the Stanley Cup, that might have been 2011. I don't know. And we played the Leafs. Game 7, 1-0. We won at like the last minute.
We're embarrassing.
Best game
right?
I've ever been. No, you guys did. You
No, well, we haven't won since 1967, hon. 67.
Which is when your fiance was born. 94. I'm good at math.
All right, I'm going to put all your stuff at the bottom. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Thank you so much for having me.
Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. I will see you next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat station. Have a great night. Dismissed.